order the meeting of the Board of Trustees of Ames Community College. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and our sincere thanks to Loveland for hosting us today, for the wonderful reception, the great food, and all of the arrangements that you made. We know it's challenging. A couple of things that that I'd like to note, and first of all, I have a cold and a cough, so if I run out of the room, it's because I'm coughing, nothing else, probably.
So we don't need to call 911?
Awesome.
Probably not. No, no. We've got a paramedic right here, so if I
That's right.
if I grab Lyle, it means I'm in trouble. But I don't think that'll happen. A couple of things before we start. There have been some horrific events that have happened since our last meeting, and just we'd like to keep our colleagues in community colleges in mind as they try to recover from hurricanes and from shootings. So let's just keep all those folks in our minds as we go forward. On a happier note, happy birthday to Mr. Hout, Trustee Hout.
Thank you.
29.
29.
29 and some months, as my children would say. That's my age.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Yes, it gets to be quite, the sum gets to be quite big. S-U-M instead of S-O-M-E. You have your agenda before you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Our next item is public comment, and I understand that we have none. Thank you. Okay.
I think that means none.
Well, she told me right
what
before
then.
she told me right before the meeting started, and I said, "Good, don't let anybody in."
But you know, she had that all prepared.
I beg your
To
pardon.
get
Would
up
you
there.
like to make your presentation, please?
Madam Chair, no one registered for public comment today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cole. We appreciate that. Our next item then is the consent agenda. You have 3 items on the consent agenda: minutes of August 17th, September 5th, and September 6th. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chairman, I would so move.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Hout. All in favor, say
Madam
aye.
Chair,
Oh,
Madam
yes,
Chair,
sir.
if I may, I'll be abstaining since I missed the last meeting.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. And that brings us to board reports. Ames Faculty Association.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm Kendra Griffin. I have a lot to report on for faculty accomplishments since last spring. This incorporates the kind of late spring and summer accomplishments. I'll begin with the Ames Read, which is a college-wide program that you may have heard quite a bit about already, I hope. That is being supported by, it's a project of the Ames Inclusiveness Council. It's being supported by faculty, staff, administration alike. I just wanted to alert you to a few things that faculty are doing here to support it. The first thing is Micah Ling, who teaches at Loveland. She's an instructor of English. She has created a writing contest for it where people can write it and review the book. And amazingly, the winner of this review will get to sit with the author, Rana Grande, at her dinner when she comes to speak here about her book, which is another big coup that we have accomplished through Meg Spencer, faculty coach. She hosted discussions for this read. She hosted a session called The Immigrant Story as My Own, a discussion on how to relate. She also presented writers' community sessions to help students come up with some creative writing for this book review and understand what a book review was and think about the ideas of the book and the memoir that it contains. We have another great project by Stephanie Newton, instructor of art and the gallery director here. She also created a contest for art and poetry, and she structured it, that's in the back of this page, she structured it around the concept of home so that everyone would feel included and nobody would feel as if in any way they had to think about being outside or inside. It would just be that everyone can understand what home is about, which is one of the themes of the book, really. So the deadline for the contest is the 12th, so don't hesitate to get your art or poetry in if you haven't already. That's for everyone here. It is open to everyone, and I'm sure we all have something we could say about home. Several other faculty members are contributing to this project. Margaret Lambeth, instructor of sociology, presented on the immigrant experience on September 7th at Fort Lupton, and the American Dream also at Fort Lupton. So I'd like to appreciate those faculty who are making an effort to reach out to the satellite campuses and make sure that they're also included in this wonderful project. And Clint Heiner, professor of history, will be presenting on Triumph, Tragedy, Pain, and Gain, discussing the American immigrant story next Wednesday in Greeley. We had some amazing conference attendance over the summer. Catherine Behe, Social and Behavioral Sciences Chair and Sociology Professor, attended the annual American Sociological Conference on Culture, Inequalities, and Social Inclusion in August in Montreal. Of that, she said her experience was incredible. She shared some of her notes with me for this. She said, specifically, I learned methods and techniques to better foster a safe environment in the classroom, recognition of our diverse student body, and to promote great connection between students and faculty. Professor Behe earned a Master's of Arts in Sociology with an emphasis in race and ethnicity from Colorado State University. Soon she will discuss, or maybe she has at the time of this meeting, since this was put together, her ideas with the Inclusiveness Council. She's hoping to gain some institutional support for the innovations that she learned about at this conference. We have lots of conference attendance. Lori Hatchell, professor of accounting and business, attended the TAC-TYC, which I'm going to call the TACTIC, and hope that that's correct, conference in Austin, Texas, in May 2017. She's also the treasurer for TACTIC, which this is a national organization that supports faculty worldwide with an accounting-specific conference each May across the country. She's been on the TACTIC board for 8 years, and she's currently preparing to attend a board meeting in Austin, and that would be this weekend. Also, she has a special spotlight for you in the packet, if you have it, about all 3 of her children having graduated from Ames now. She feels that is a great accomplishment, and I wrote up more about that for you, and I'm glad it'll be published. Janine Lewis, mathematics chair, recently returned from a national planning session for the National Association for Developmental Education, NAED, spring conference for 2018. You may remember that last spring I reported out that we had 2 Ames faculty that had attended, I think it was COAD then, and maybe it was also NAED, they're related, and they were so impressive that they were asked to come back and help run the councils and present again and even have like half-day and full-day workshops, or be on the boards. That's pretty impressive. That was Jenny Walters of English also, and Janine Lewis. So I'm really proud of how much on the forefront of innovation we are in developmental education in Ames. That is no small feat to be asked to help run or chair a national conference on developmental education and have 2 of our faculty members recognized that way last spring is pretty impressive. She's been the chair for the NAED, she's been the NAED treasurer from 2007 to 2011, and she also helped organize the NAED 2013 conference in Denver with our State Developmental Education Association, COED. I want to just point out also that you will be hearing more about TICA, which is a conference that we are hosting here at Ames this year. We will be having that conference from the 19th to the 21st, and then so the next board report you should hear a lot about it, but I just point that out because it's also a huge undertaking to be the school that hosts these large conferences. That's the 2-year college association, and it is one of my favorite conferences. It feels relevant, innovative, responsive to the real needs of teachers in the classroom. So I would continue to promote that to anyone who might like to go. Our PD budget will definitely support you in your endeavor, should you ask. Thank you. I know this for a fact. Over this summer, also Meg Spencer, who is now the faculty coach working for assessment, Karen McCurley Hardesty of English, who went full-time this year, Leslie Morrison, instructor of English, and I presented at CADE, which is the Conference on Acceleration in Developmental Education, on the ALP's honors course. I think you might have heard about that last time, so I apologize because I'm reading through everything because I'm nervous. So I think you did hear about that last time. Okay, publications. Professor Danny Malloy has come out with a publication in the Americans in Philosophy. It is called Yes Page, There is a Santa Claus. I gave you a picture of the book. It's an interesting article. It seems that it examines the morality of parents lying to their children, hence the title is something about Santa Claus, which of course we consider an innocuous lie. But he does examine the philosophical ramifications, and he says, I argue that while some of the typical lies parents tell children can be justified, the Jennings, in this case his fictional family, lies about who they are and what they do undermine their children's developing sense of themselves. That's interesting. I think you heard about Dr. Teresa Reynolds last time, but I did put some things here just so you can have a visual of her kinship chart. She is currently the FTLC chair, and I took this from her bio because I just wanted to say, in her bio she says, anthropology was the path to learning continually about past and present peoples, and she feels blessed to have found a discipline she truly loves. Lastly, let me turn you to our fall FTLC conference, which will be happening this weekend. I'm very proud of this conference because I've seen that it does a wonderful job at showcasing and engaging part-time faculty as well as full-time. Often the bulk of the presenters are part-time faculty as well as staff. So thank you to them. We have Dr. Sedina, an educational neuroscientist who sees brain research through the eyes of a teacher and teacher through the eyes of a researcher. So she will be our keynote speaker at that. She'll be speaking and doing workshops all morning, which sounds like a long time, and yet because she knows what she's doing and how to engage people, I'm sure it will be really interesting. So I'm actually really looking forward to that. And every time we've done one of these FTLC conferences, it's been really enjoyable and useful. So keep your eye open for that. Keep your eye open for reports on how many people went to the 2-2 and helped or attended TICA. And I just wanted to say thank you to the program coordinator of student leadership and development who praised faculty involvement in clubs, and that's Joel Orozco Almeida, and he said, out of the currently registered 35 advisors for student clubs and organizations at Ames, 23 of them are faculty members. Advisor contributions are key toward the success of student clubs and organizations, as the Office of Student Leadership and Development would not be able to support all of these student groups the way advisors do. Thank you so much, and thank you to the staff who advise those clubs also. I think that's everything. Thank you for your time and attention to my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
You said something about, or maybe you said that Renee Grande would be here?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Ames Read is kind of a college-wide book club project, and we're having all sorts of projects and groups and discussions around it. But one of our coups is that she's coming here to speak and present on her book. So the winner of this review contest will be able to introduce her at this conference. So please check your daily and your announcements to be reminded that that's happening, because I'm really excited about it and impressed about it. So please keep that in mind. If you have other questions, I don't know all the specifics about the read, but I believe the Inclusiveness Council will.
Do you have a date?
Yes.
You
Thank
do?
you.
October 20th.
Oh, October 20th, okay.
Yes, I knew it was during
Yes.
TICA.
Yes.
No, okay.
And if you have not read the book,
It's worthwhile.
read the book.
Yes.
It's just incredible. I've now read several of her books, and it's just absolutely amazing. So, thank you.
Yep.
Ames Staff Association, and we welcome Sheila Buckles today.
Hi, good afternoon. So just to I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off of the discussion regarding the distance between us with author Reina Grande. It is a dinner buffet that is scheduled for Friday, October 20th. There will be a question and answer as well as a book signing that evening. So she will be on the Ames campus in Greeley that evening. And then also, as discussed before, regarding the poetry and art project, it's called This Must Be the Place. I was also told by Meg Spencer that Miss Grande will actually pick out the top 3 winners of the art project. So she'll be involved in that as well.
Wow.
Yes. And Meg did want me to provide a little additional information. There are also free books available to students that's at the Core Impact office. If they would like to pick up a book there, they still have some available, as well as there are still some copies in the library. A lot of the funding was sponsored by the Ames Inclusiveness Council as well as the Hansen Foundation. There are going to be some more book discussions later in the spring semester as well. And then there will be a couple opportunities of some similar films regarding the same, I don't believe that the films are with the distance between us, but the same background. So Meg wanted me to provide some of the information. So it's going to be actually an entire fiscal year project throughout the entire year that's been funded by this program. The ASA has been preparing for the HLC visit. We've been reviewing our bylaws and creating our charter, which we're ready for approval. And then something that is going to be coming up in November, so I might be moving a little bit fast here, is that the ASA will be involved in a volunteer day with the Ames Gives Back. So we will be volunteering at the World Food Bank for a few hours. And then we're also going to partner up with the AFA group and provide breakfast for our faculty and staff as a collective group, which we've not done before. So we look forward to organizing that with the AFA group. Yes, so that's about all I have for you today.
Okay, thank you.
Super.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you.
And the Associated Students of Ames Community College, we have our Vice President, Emily Woolsey, here today.
Well, good afternoon. Like she said, my name's Emily Woolsey, and I'm Vice President of Student Government. I am taking Cody's place today as he had class until 2 and was not able to make it on time. In this moment, I'd actually like to pause and take a moment of silence for those who have been impacted by the natural disasters as well as the Las Vegas shooting. Thank you. The Associated Students created a banner for the Las Vegas victims that will be sent directly to Las Vegas City Hall. It is out in the main hallway. If you all would like to sign your name or write a message, people tend to do both. I want to mention a few ASAC and club events that happened on campus last month that were not reported in the last meeting. On September 18th, we had Constitution Day. The event was called The Untold Story of the Founding of the Constitution. Ames instructor Michael Lenz discussed the historical context of the period leading up to the Constitution, major events that precipitated the call for the Constitution Convention of 1787, and the Federalist and Anti-Federalist divide. We handed out copies of the Constitution as well as American flags to all the students, and we had quite a good attendance at that event. We also created our 9/11 memorial out of 3,000 flags that spelled out "Never Forget 9/11." We had lots of volunteers, and it was also a great spot for people to go and remember those who lost their lives on 9/11. Today we had an event called Revival of the Hippie Counterculture, which Michael Lenz also presented. This event addressed the reemergence of the values and spirit of the 1960s counterculture. And Dr. Lenz explored the true meaning of what a hippie is and what social and cultural explanations account for a hippie revival. It will happen again on October 25th at 1 p.m. here on the Loveland campus, and again on November 1st at 11:30 a.m. on the Windsor campus. We also have an event that was sponsored by the Greeley Veterans Club, or now known as Veterans Education Success Team, or VEST, called Phones for Soldiers. They collected gently used cell phones to give to soldiers currently deployed, and that was held on September 27th. There was also another event held on September 27th called See You at the Pole, in which the Ambassadors for Christ gathered to pray for our school, the community, the country, and the world. The last event that we had was actually on Monday, and it actually got canceled due to a problem with the presenters. That was called Kick Chemicals to the Curb. There has not been any future dates set yet for that one. So now some upcoming activities and programs that we have. We have the Phi Theta Kappa is hosting the Regional Honors and Action Conference. This conference will include speakers, small group sessions, chapter development plan, and others. Participants will be coming from across Wyoming and Colorado. That will occur on October 5th from 12 to 9 p.m. and October 6th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There was also the PTK induction on September 19th, in which they inducted 54 new members. And the National Society of Leadership and Success is beginning their orientation and training days. New members will be trained on how to be an active and effective member of NSLS. Various dates from September 23rd to October 18th on all campuses is when that will occur. For SLD and FYE programs, they will be holding their Lunch and Learns programs. This event will be for students to have lunch and learn about the services of student leadership and development and the first year experience programs. Some of the dates have already passed, but there are some future events. One will be October 10th from 11 to 12 at the Fort Lupton campus, and the last one will be October 12th from 12 to 1 on the Greeley campus. Some more events that we have going on in the ASAC realm is, the first one is All They Will Call You, Finding Woody Guthrie's Deportees. Tim Hernandez, who is an award-winning author, will give a presentation about the 1948 Los Gatos plane crash. That will occur on October 5th from 12 to 1:30 p.m. It says Allied Health, but we changed the room number, the location, and it's not written here, so I apologize for that. Our next human-to-human event will be called A Conversation About Refugees in Greeley. This will be an opportunity for us to join the conversation about refugees in Greeley with Lisa Taylor, who is the Executive Director of the Immigrant and Refugee Center at UNC, and Sarah Gostinik, Community Programs Coordinator for Lutheran Family Services Refugee and Asylum Program, and that will occur on October 20th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. in Ed Beatty Hall, room 102. Another event that we have going on is called Soulful Art. This event will be for students to find spiritual and mental balance through painting in a calm and creative atmosphere. That will occur on October 18th from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on the Windsor campus, and again on November 6th on the Greeley campus in the Ed Beatty Hall Theater. Another event that we actually have going on this week is called Your Vote Counts. This will be an opportunity for Ames students to get registered to vote. I apologize. And this event will be held with assistance from the Women League of Voters. It will be on October 5th from 2 to 4, October 9th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and October 9th, and then October 12th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We also have another event called Yoga in the Garden. There will be a free yoga workshop for students to participate in to de-stress from those pesky midterms. The workshop will be led by an Ames PERC instructor named Sandy Myers. That will be October 11th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. outdoors at the Memorial Garden. Lastly, we are also planning our second annual Trick or Treat Track event for Halloween. We are inviting clubs to table the event and hand out candy to our little aardvarks. Tickets are free but are required for entry. That will occur October 31st from 4:30 to 6:30, located in the PERC. I would also like to invite all the departments and any group on campus to reserve a table and join the fun. And just a reminder, a student ID is required to receive wristbands. Wristbands will go out October 13th and will be available until the 27th. And then my last thing, as most of you know, I have been doing double duty, being vice president as well as the Windsor peer educator, but I wanted to share with you all that we have found a new Windsor peer educator, and his name is Caden Breyer. We are all very excited to see what he will do for the Windsor campus. So thank you all for allowing me to be here and subbing for Cody today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When do you have time to study? I mean,
I ask myself that all the time.
gee whiz. Amazing.
Thank you, and thank you for creating all those opportunities for our students and staff. Appreciate it. President's report, Dr. B.
Thank you. We would like to start off with Dr. Kish, Vice President for Academic Affairs, who will take the podium for a little bit. This is her month for the Academic Affairs Annual Report. She would also like to give us some last-minute, up-to-date HLC site visit tips, and finally, our fall 2017 enrollment update. Dr. Kish.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to share with you our annual report, which really covers the 2016-17 year. I did want to draw your attention to the very first page, which gives you the basic structure of academic affairs, and you'll notice we have really 5 operational units: our Arts and Sciences unit, our Public Services and Transportation, Business and Technology, Community Partnerships and Workforce Development, as well as Academic Support Services. And we'll go throughout the report just what each of those do. At the top of the first page, you'll also notice we have kind of quick facts by the numbers, which are the number of students that we serve, how many degrees and certificates are awarded or were awarded the last year, our makeup of students by gender, and by minority versus white or unknown. Trustee Wood, I'd like to bring your attention to the second half of the page, and where you'll notice our core measures. I want to thank you a year out from when we had this last time. We talked a lot about what mattered most here and mattered to us. And so from that conversation at this board meeting a year ago, we developed the core measures. And these are the 5 core measures to remind you what they are. And they're really key performance indicators, and they're very high level. Our intention is this will make up the front of our dashboard, which will be viewable to the public. And then underneath these, we are calling roll-up measures. We will be rolling up different measures that lead to these top-level measures that our folks can use operationally to determine how they're going to operate the institution. And so first one is access. And the question there is how many students are we serving, and how many underserved folks are we serving as well. And you'll notice the measure that we have benchmarked against is a 3-year average of around 7,300 students, with this year's performance, or this 16-17, at just under 8,000, which was an increase of about 9%. So that's something to be quite proud of in serving our community. Not only do we want students to come here, we want them to stay and finish, and so retention is important. Retention is how many of our students return year over year that should return. Those that graduate, we know, are off doing other great things. And so we're again using a fall 3-year average, which was 55%. And again, that's fall to fall. And we're up 9% at 63%. Trustee Wood, are you liking this yet?
I love it.
All right. Just checking.
You have to have something to measure by, and this is great.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome, and it's really a first step to a much larger project that we're very excited about. So the third one is our learning column, because you can come, but if you don't learn anything, that might not be very helpful. All right. So this is where we're reporting out our common learning outcomes, and this is an HLC test. So do you know what they are, the 5?
Yes. If I read them.
Yes, yes. Those are our written communication, oral communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and professionalism. And so we assess these outcomes for our students across our entire curriculum. And it's been a project that's been ongoing for really intensely, I would say, the last 4 years. And on the next page, we'll talk about the progress we've made in that arena. But you'll notice we have had improvements. There is one area that is down a little, and that had to do with the number of assessments that we did. And because these are such new projects, really benchmarking against this is a little difficult, but otherwise the rest are up. And then completion, of course, we want our students to complete, and are they attaining their goals? And currently we're defining that as, are they transferring out or attaining a degree or certificate? And we're benchmarking against the 3-year average. And so we're down on our graduation rate by 1%, and we are up on our transfer rate. And you'll notice the block above is actually a 3-year average. The positives and minuses are against last year's performance too. So. And then lastly is the impact to our community. Yes.
Just one question, just to clarify, the 26%, is that the number of students that graduate out of the 7,900?
And I might have to have Bill Brown help me with
I'm
the exact
sorry,
numbers,
just-
but it's 26% of our population, yes, graduated.
So if there's 8,000, then roughly, we have 2,000 graduations.
Well, we had 1844
Under-
degrees or certificates that were awarded last year.
Okay.
So you can kind of do the math.
Between both semesters.
Right, it's for the entire year,
Yeah,
an annual number.
Good.
Yeah.
That's-
And then the last one is our impact column, and that's how we're impacting our community. And we're using a study to help us understand that, and you've heard those numbers before, but we did want to show you that number compared back to the 13-14 number. So for 15-16, we don't do this study every year because it is quite expensive, $388 million compared to $356 million in the previous study. So that is also quite impactful for our community and how we're performing.
Deb, if you just back to the learning, you know,
Yes.
you have 75% example, written communication, 75% of what?
So it is of our students that were assessed, 75% are performing. So we have a rubric we
Okay,
use in the
so-
first two columns of the rubric. So you might consider that like we call it arriving or arrived. They've arrived at that competency or that outcome, or they're arriving at it. So it's the
So it's a
higher end performance.
predetermined level of, okay, and then 75% can do this, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's right.
Back to retention, do you know what the national average is?
Oh,
This is
goodness.
substantially higher, isn't it? I might be a doctor.
It is,
actually in the 60th percentile, so we're right about
yes, thank you,
Are we?
right at.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that's a great suggestion for our benchmarking to add to it, to add to this. So thank you. We'll take that.
I just come out with ideas all the time.
You just fall out of your head.
Are there any other questions about the core measures? And
No,
thank you,
great.
board, really, because this came out of the work and the conversations that you really had us thinking last year at this time. So, all right, the next section, really, I briefly touched on common learning outcomes, and I've given you a little bit of data in our HLC preparation, but I wanted to show you by the numbers what our faculty have been up to for the last 4 years. You'll notice from 13-14, we had about 353 faculty participating in assessments completed, and in 16 and 17, we had almost 4,500. That's a significant increase, and I would expect another large bump this year as well as we really rolled out our AA and AS assessment projects this fall. So I would expect another bump this next year. Our faculty participation has gone from 2% to 44%, which is huge, and we're looking for 100%, so we're going to keep working on that number. As you heard, our Faculty Teaching and Learning Center is hard at work planning this weekend a faculty conference. But to recap, for last year, they did 2 conferences. They really support our faculty in a whole faculty life cycle process. So we have new faculty orientation, mentorship, ongoing training, and the conferences are really part of that ongoing training that we offer. Our new faculty orientation just this fall was the largest we've ever had, with around 40 participants, and we're very proud of that work. The other thing is we have published, as of last year, 4 of our signature magazines, and just on September 12th, our 5th signature magazine came out, which we're very proud of, which is all about teaching and learning at Ames, and it should be in your packet, and so you should have this one to read and peruse, but you'll really see amazing work that our folks are doing in that. We also have our Office of Learning Environments, which is actually a very new office to us just this summer, but it did consist of previously our online learning environments, as well as services that were provided out of other units we've brought together. And we're looking at with that office is to look at what is the learning environment for our students and how do we enhance it and actually make it the most effective environment that we can do. We also have a new curriculum, program development, and scheduling office, which is hard at work doing assessment work right now and also looking at curriculum flow. And then our institutional research and assessment office was working very diligently last year in providing you the environmental scan, the economic study, as well as working the accreditation project that's been in play for the last 2 years. We had a very successful multi-site visit last year, which I believe the words were that these were model campuses that could be used across the HLC area. And then our grants office is also housed in that unit, and as you, I think 2 board meetings ago, or 1 board, they blend together a little, but we have about $2.7 million in play in our grants office at this time. So I'd like to turn, are there any questions so far?
Just a quick
Yes.
one. I really like having measurements that we're looking at and we can relate to that. And look, are we moving forward, going back, whatever. The access and we're talking about the number, the head count. And we're looking to the previous 3-year average and we're wanting to beat that. And I think that's good, but are we still getting our share of the total population in our district?
That is a great.
I've seen numbers out there where a certain population size should have a successful community college would have a certain number of students. Is there any way for us to maybe add that in at all?
We absolutely can, and part of that I think will go towards those roll-up measures I was talking about, that you end up drilling down into this number and you can see even more information about it, but I will definitely add that. Thank you. All right, so
Good point.
that's a great point, yeah. Our Arts and Sciences division, if you will, houses our liberal arts programs and courses, so our AA degree and our AS degree. In that unit, what we've tried to do in this report is really give you a sampling of the amazing work that's happening within the unit. And we cut so much, and so from actually telling you about, but you hear from folks about all the wonderful things we're doing, and we can't put all of that in here. But we did try to give you a few highlights and then some data to go along with each unit. And so our online writing lab, you may have heard about before, but it is ranked 3rd in a Google search. That is amazing. I believe it's the Purdue OWL is number 1, and so we're number 3. That's awesome. We also have our Advancing Academic Achievement course, which is a college-ready course for our students, and that shows about a 10% increase in retention over our general population for students who take that course. And you'll notice at the very bottom of page 4 there is just a demonstration of our instructional effectiveness in that particular course, and where you can see students really are coming out with a higher level understanding than when they got into that course. Of note in that unit is also a division change from our organizational structure. We have really went to the super chair model. Instead of having lots of chairs within this unit, we went to 5 chairs, and they really will make up the advisory for our AA and our AS degree to track more data on that and look at the curriculum. On the page 5, you'll notice our credentials awarded within this unit. This represents 64% of our population at the college, and FTE is up just under 5%. Moving on to public services and transportation, this is the division that houses most of our programs that either have some type of outside regulator or specialized accreditation or some type of really someone else looking into the program to see how we're doing. And in this area, you'll notice that FTE is up 6%, and this represents 21% of our FTE. We have a new program, sterile processing, instrument processing, which is out of the Surge Tech program. And the idea around this program was to offer a program that allowed for students to enter into a field they may not have otherwise entered into. It's a new emerging field, and it's one where we had equipment and we were able to maximize our space and our tools to serve more students. We also have our UNC nursing partnership, where you might recall I announced to you a while back that we had 100% pass rate on the NCLEX for all of our dual enrollment students. And UNC doesn't have that rate by itself, and we don't have that rate by ourselves, but together we do. And so that's a pretty powerful partnership. We have students in our automotive program who keep winning Skills USA year after year, and we're super proud of them and wanted to comment about that. At the bottom of the page on the left there, you'll notice that we've listed course success rates for these programs, and there's a reason we've done this. These are primarily our cohort-based programs. They all have over a 90%, well, actually over 94% course completion rates. And it really provides us valuable information as we look for our strategic plan on what we would like to do with the programs as a whole moving forward. Which brings me to the top of the next page. We started our very first pathway project here at the college in allied health, and you'll notice we aligned our coursework so that students could enter into a career cluster, if you will, and not lose credits if they decided to change within the cluster. And that is huge for our students in saving money and not wasting credits. And so we're really working hard to align our programs. And at the top of page 7, you'll see that graphic which demonstrates that pathway work. And then, of course, at the bottom, we like to make sure you know we very much appreciate our program modernization of our aviation program. On to business, and did you have a question?
On the nursing, the combined 100%, is that because of accessibility that each program provided? Because you're sharing students, aren't you, to some extent?
Right. 75% of our students that are in our nursing program, approximately, are also UNC dual enrollment students. So they go on to get their bachelor's degree at UNC, and so it's that population that we're talking about.
Okay. All right.
So is the 94% then, or whatever it is, yeah, 94, is that completing the Ames part of it, or completing?
The program that's actually listed there is our nurse aid program, which is an entirely separate program. It's the program that preps students to become nurse aides. So that's a program that you might do prior to becoming a nurse.
Yeah.
But you have a nursing program, too.
We do.
That's the 98 that's concurrent enrollment, right? Or is all of these concurrent enrollment?
No, all of the programs with the course success rates on the bottom there are general programs. There may or may not be concurrent enrollment. The dual enrollment program with UNC is with the nursing program, and that is the only one that we have at the college is with nursing. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
And that 100% doesn't relate to any of this. It just happens to be another number.
It's another pretty terrific number.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fantastic number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sounded
How
like
can
a-
you beat 100%?
And so, and these are just completion numbers.
Course completion. So
But
right
could
within the
you
program.
follow up with jobs? How many of those are employed then after the?
We do. We can follow up with that if you'd like us to add that. We certainly can. An example is our paramedic program. I believe 100% of those students were employed upon graduation. So that is an example. A lot of our cohort programs, because of how tightly knit they are, do have very high employment rates.
I know automotive, for instance, I think is described as 100%, but I'd like to know, you know.
Okay. We'll add that.
Another statistic that can show how good we're doing.
Great.
Or how well we're doing, sorry. Where's
Yeah.
the English teacher?
Sure. Sure. And with automotive, an example is our students are getting stolen by employers before they're completing.
Yeah.
And so you may look at the completion rate for automotive and see it's not as high as we'd like it, but our students are getting jobs, and so prior to completing. And so we have that dynamic.
That may be the completion.
And that's completion, it is completion.
Right.
And that is an
You
issue
know,
that I
the-
pointed out at the HLC,
Right, yeah,
or the CCHE meeting a couple of weeks ago, that I pointed out to their staff and said, you need to take a look at how we figure this in.
Absolutely.
Oh, we hadn't thought about that. I said, well, think about it, you know, because it happens a lot.
Yeah,
Can we-
ultimately, it's getting a job in some of those programs. Some it's transferring.
Can we reach out to those employers that are grabbing those students before they're graduating and kind of give them an incentive
To keep them in.
well, to keep them in or do some sort of accreditation that allows them to kind of meet a skill set or a skill level that would make Fred happy, I guess.
Absolutely.
I mean,
We'll
I-
look into that. Yeah, I
other
think that would
words,
be great.
Get credit for maybe
For going to
what
work.
they're working.
Yeah.
They're
For getting a
working,
job.
yeah,
Imagine that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, imagine that.
That's what we want them to do.
Yeah. All right. we're going to talk a little bit about our division called Business and Technology. And in this unit, this is really where we see growth, significant growth for the college. And part of that was opening our new facility there at the north side of the Greeley campus for trades and technology. We've also started a new certificate, a cybersecurity certificate, and if you've been paying attention to the news, you'll know why we've done that. And or if your Social Security's been breached, you'll also know why we're doing that. I think Brad's a little nervous about that program, though. We need some contained networks and things for our students. So we also have an award-winning ag program that is growing down at the Fort Lupton campus, and our welding department has grown significantly down at Fort Lupton, and we anticipate and expect further growth of welding in Fort Lupton. And our Tax Help Colorado last year helped taxpayers bring back home $2.1 million, which is very exciting for our community. And again, I have some course success rates for you here, as well as some stats on the actual division itself. And it represents 14% of our current population at the college. Our newest, I guess, in most, it's really a revived old division, but we've revived it, and that's the Community Partnerships and Workforce Development area. And that area is made up of 3 areas, primarily the high school programs, which is our concurrent enrollment, career academy, early college programs. Our GED, ESL programs are another unit in that area, as well as our workforce development, which we're growing. That had dwindled down to primarily just some CDL and customized training, as you saw in the presentation that we did, I believe it was last month, and showed you some of those numbers regarding our continuing education efforts. So that will be a growing area for us as well. I did have some fast facts for you, but in this unit we serve approximately 1,500 students in this area, and have growing numbers within our early college and concurrent enrollment. It actually represents quite a large portion of our population now at the college. And finally, I'd like to just mention our Learning Commons, which is made up of our library, supplemental instruction, and tutoring services. And we have served many people in these areas. And you'll notice we're also moving to quite a few electronic resources. Out of this area, we're championing the Open Textbook Network, which we have one class already who is using an open textbook and saving students dollars in textbook fees. So we're pretty excited about that. And we've also instituted a no fines policy. It became a little crazy to charge a fine of maybe a few dollars, and then a student decides not to come back because of that fine. And we thought that that was not in our students' best interest, so we have eliminated the fines policy. If they lose a book, they still have to pay for the book, something like that. But the fines are gone. And so you'll see some amazing support numbers there at the bottom in the blue bubbles. And so I just wanted to conclude by thanking everyone in academic affairs for their hard work. Many of the folks in this unit are actually teaching right now or with students, and we do have some of the folks in the audience. So if you will stand if you're in academic affairs, just be recognized on behalf of your units. So thank you to all of them. And then the other units, of course, we can't do any of this work without their support. So thank you. Are there any questions?
Great job.
No, I have one question. Just one. How do we know when we have a saturation of what the industry needs versus what we're producing? Do you have a finger on that pulse?
Yes, we do it's called an EMSI. I think we've talked about that service before, but we do a little report based on the programs that we offer and look at how much market saturation there is, and it's based on job availability and need. And so we, a few years ago, had to actually decline our radiology technology enrollment because we had saturated the market, and so we scaled that back, and I think that was about 4 years ago. We did something like that based on that type of
And
information.
helicopters, things like that.
Helicopters, an example, where we said it's really not viable any longer. There aren't the jobs there, and where we came to you and said we'd like to close that program. So we have a program review process that does take this information into consideration.
Does it do it fast enough? I mean,
I think we
helicopters
have.
lost money for a long time.
You didn't
No,
have
just-
me here.
Okay, good. I like that.
All right, now I'm gonna blush.
She embarrassed herself.
I know, embarrassed myself. I'm gonna be totally bright red now.
That's a great
Am I like
answer.
a tomato? Yes, I think we can do better, and we're working on it.
Good.
Yes.
So when you said with radiology you scaled it back, what does that mean? Are you limiting students then?
We did, yes, because there weren't the jobs. So we didn't think it was good practice to train folks and then know that there weren't enough jobs out in the marketplace. So we scaled back our enrollment numbers. We did, and those are cohort-based programs that have limited availability in the program, so we scaled back that program. And now we've increased it again.
But does the students have a choice? I mean, if they chose to continue on radiology?
Dr. Peterson, if I can.
Yes, please come forward, though, to the mic.
One of the beauties of the guided pathway now in allied health, in that if a student starts out in a particular program, and then we see that they don't have, there's not viability for that program in terms of getting jobs, the classes they've already taken to that point are not wasted, nor is that tuition money. They can, take an off-ramp into another allied health position, it is more marketable. So that's the whole intent behind the guided pathways initiative.
And most of our allied
Makes
health,
sense. I
yeah.
understand that, yeah.
But most of our allied health programs do have limited availability, and a lot of that is driven by clinical sites.
What?
Clinical sites,
Oh, yes.
Mhm. Right. So we're talking, a few numbers, around 10 students. But if there weren't jobs in the area, that was becoming problematic for us. So,
Thank you.
Thank
okay.
you.
Nice job.
Okay. All right. Now is your favorite time of the meeting? Accreditation.
Lord.
Woohoo!
I'll be back.
2 weeks, you guys. I am so excited. This is.
This is now your last meeting, right?
Yeah, I'm done now.
So, in your packet, you also got one of these lanyards that this is some help for you if you forgot what you wrote to take and wear to the.
Well, we changed it a little bit ago.
Yeah, so you might have forgotten, and we want to make sure you're well prepared. So it would be advisable to go ahead and wear those to the visit, so you have them very handy if you get asked.
And make them look worn.
Sure, like crinkle them up, and sure, that'd be great. But they are relatively new, so it's okay that everything looks relatively new. So I think we
Don't
have
change it again, is what you're saying, right?
Give us a little time to at least make those things a reality.
Well, and then the tattoos, are we all to put them at a certain location?
Right
Right there. Okay.
Your
So we wear
forehead.
sleeveless?
Right here for the football game. So I actually am very excited about the accreditation visit, and it is a week and a half away, and we have submitted, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, we have done a ton of work to get here, and we're in the final stages of preparation. So we're going to give you a quick update, refresh your memory on a few things so that you're prepared as well, and let you know when you need to arrive and be there. But I've told folks that you're on the schedule because you have something amazing to talk about at Ames, and so we want you to talk about that stuff. Make sure you tell our site visitors all of the great things that we're doing and that you've been involved in, and I think that is fantastic. So just to recap for you, in September, we had our Convocation Day, which was on September 12th, which was on HLC. We finished our document repository on September 22nd. That was a huge project, and we've had ongoing communication, and we've begun our forums and practice sessions with various groups that will be participating. And then with CCR's support, we have done a student marketing campaign, and they're having a lot more fun because they have Fitbits as prizes, and boys, we didn't get anything like that. But that is awesome for our students. And in October, we're continuing with that student outreach, as well as disseminating facts to folks. And they've been in the daily. If you've been reading the daily, I think every day that's in there. And we're finalizing our logistics and our schedule. They'll be here in a week and a half. And your lunch is on the 17th, and it'll be in the boardroom from 12 to 1.
But you say we need to talk about these things, and we do, but it's between bites, and we're not going to have separate meetings. Is that correct?
You're all together.
So Carol can kick me when I say something wrong?
We'll just put the Band-Aid over your mouth before we start.
The tattoo.
We found a good use.
No, can't chew with your mouth full. So I eat a lot.
And remember, we have amazing things to say, so just tell them those things. And everyone has room to improve, and it's okay to say those things as well. And so we're very realistic about where we're at, and very excited. Actually, we have a lot of great things to share, and we'll talk about a few of those in just a minute. Dr. Van is, this is text heavy, and so I'm not going to go through each one, but these were the top highlights from her talk about the things we should be focusing on. And we're going to talk a little more in depth about a few that I believe apply to you all. And the first is shared governance. And you've looked at in the work session, changing the number to 74, but shared governance at the college. And I am going to read this because I think it's important for not only you all to hear, but everyone in the audience. The concept of shared governance, which is defined as meaningful involvement in the decision-making process of all constituencies of the college community, and those decisions and policy recommendations which affect them, will be utilized at Ames Community College. Every reasonable effort to create and maintain effective communication within and between the various constituencies of the college will be an institutional commitment. And we have many ways that we do that here at the college. An example was you had the 3 folks sitting here at the board meeting talking to you about what was going on. That's one example. We have folks on college committees. We have our AFA organization. We have consultation, which you approve that agreement every single year. And that's part of our shared governance process. And so I just want to give you a few examples of that. And so you would have some information. Is there anything else, Dr. Bornstein, you'd like to add around shared governance for the board?
I got a little focused on wording, especially since we just did policy development. So I checked out for a second, but did you say college council?
In college council, thank
Okay,
you.
good.
College
Thank you.
council.
That's a big
part
part
one.
of shared governance. And your learning council.
And right, and I have an advisory committee, which I actually haven't talked about too much, but it's a learning council, which is made up of elected representatives from AFA that meet with me every 2 weeks and provide advice on academic affairs matters. And so that's a pretty huge organizational piece that we've added within the last year.
Is that a regional group?
That's for Ames. That's just Ames.
That's just Ames people meeting.
Ames people talking about academic items or issues within academic affairs, and they're, as we've explained to them, elected, and they're supposed to be representative of their constituencies that they're coming forth on, and they provide advice to me and then to the deans on how we operate at the academic affairs unit. And so it's a very impactful organization that was, we spent about 6 months creating it through a faculty and staff team with myself and what it would look like. So we're pretty proud of that organization, and it's working very well so far. It's doing exactly what it intended. So those are some examples. The other thing that you might get asked about or might want to know about is faculty credentialing. And I wanted to remind this board that they approved twice policy changes to the faculty credentialing policies, one last May and one the May before. And last May, we updated the changes that we had put in place the year before because we had realized we had gotten way too granular and restrictive and decided to back ourselves up a little and go straight to the HSC language and use their language in our policy so that we are very representative of what they're asking us to do. And so we've been through 3 full audits within the academic affairs units, and I think the deans would agree we are tired of seeing those forms. We have looked at them and looked at them and looked at them. And we have now instituted an electronic process that's housed through the support of the HR department in our banner system where we're able to pull up anyone's credential and how we approve them through that process. And so that has been very effective for us. But that is required by HLC and very important that we did.
And that was part of the consultation.
And that was, both of those agreements came out of consultation, which was part of the shared governance. So see how things tied together.
You're trying to get us all to understand how they relate.
Yes, that's what I was doing.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm getting it down. Hope I pass this
Making
test.
sure, so when you get asked that question, you know what it's about. Because sometimes HLC uses language we don't use here. We don't go around talking about shared governance. So not everybody understands what that means. But when I give you the examples, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so that's why we're trying to make it a little more usable, if you will, some of the language. And then, as you will recall, we had 3 strategic challenges: assessment, process, and the use of data. And I am very happy to report that we documented 20 of our improvements using a new process that we're calling the PRI, which details the data that we used and what changes we made to process. And we've also documented over 100 standard operating processes at the college, and that was an enormous amount of work that we've done. And we've uploaded 1,200 pieces of evidence. And we have really just an excellent structure now for capturing all of this. And we feel like we're on a great path. And so when they get to ask you about that, you'll have some information for an answer.
They only have 55 minutes.
I know. You're going to be so over-prepared. And then campus-wide preparation, so everyone gets to go through lots of preparation as well. At convocation, we had the emails, and we have these mock forums, and we've done individual practice interviews if folks are a little nervous and want their own, or it just worked out that way. And then, of course, the games for students, student government's been involved, and we've had open mock forums for them as well, and we've been distributing prep sheets to them as well, to students. And so we feel everyone's very well prepared. Which brings me to suggesting to you that you enjoy this, and again, use it as an opportunity to talk about the amazing things that we do, and have fun. We're excited. I think we're ready. Yeah, I think I'm actually looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a great 2 days, and they're going to be so impressed with us. Does that mean we won't have something to work on? Of course we will, and that's okay. But because we are a continuous improvement learning organization, so we'll work on it. And so we feel pretty confident about going into the visit. Dr. Bornstein?
Well, I'm just smiling because it's so nice to hear those words
From me?
from this woman who's been a little bit stressed.
And I would just remind the board that last month, Deb gave us the comprehensive quality checkup visit preparation for Board of Trustees, so pull that out before our lunch.
Or print it because it's also in your packet.
Just
Some diligence.
review it, make sure that that stuff is fresh.
You guys may feel like you're ready now. I'm scared to death.
Is there anything you're nervous about that we could help you with now?
Well, I'm just the opposite, Larry. I feel like on the 17th we're going to have a test.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You know, and I've never felt more prepared in all the tests
Well,
that
it's
I've
multiple
gone through.
choice. I'm not very good
Well,
with writing.
I don't like multiple choice.
I got 1 in 4
Essays are,
chance.
yeah, but seriously, I just think this is such a great institution that there's just no way that they're going to zing us for anything major. Like you say, they got to find something, you know, they got to pay their way or whatever. But I just
That's true.
Listen, I've been in a situation with CDE where you were supposed to find something bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't really said, but that's exactly what they were expecting when
Right.
they went out on a monitoring visit, which just drove me up the wall. I couldn't handle that. So anyway, that's my speech for the day.
I just wanted to, I think more for all of us than for the board specifically, but truly as a family. And we talked about this a little bit in cabinet yesterday. Was it yesterday? Oh gosh, yesterday. We are up for re-accreditation. We're already accredited.
Yeah.
We're already a solid institution. We're already doing fantastic things, as you heard, and as we continue to hear. We're nationally known. We're receiving awards. We're doing fabulous things. So we're up for reaccreditation. So this is basically, there's a whole chunk of our itinerary, and I know Brianna's here, that is very standard. That folks do at every institution, and that we have to do too. So there'll be questions that are not meant to trick you. You're meant to talk about what you do, what your job is. So for the board, it's going to be on governance. It's going to be on strategic thinking. It's going to be on policy development. That policy that we just looked about board's responsibility. It's going to be on advocacy. That section we just added. It's going to be on the things that you already do and know, and that you already do and know. This isn't a trick, and it's an opportunity, as Dr. Kish has said, to boast and brag,
Yes.
and to be straight. It's not a, pardon me, it's not a bitch session, but it is meant to be straight. We're not perfect. We have a ways to go. That's how we say it. We recognize we have some things to focus on. These are the things that we've learned about those things. This is the process and the plan we're taking, and we're moving forward, and we're excited by it, and moving on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Agreed. Agreed.
Awesome.
I'm really not that scared. I imagine these people are more afraid of what I'm going to say than me. Is that not true? I'm looking at Carol.
We'll just, Larry, have another bite of food.
Yeah. Larry, did you have any of this pot roast? You need to chew it carefully.
It's a little tough.
And well.
500 times, yes.
All right. Are there any other questions about our accreditation visit that we're all very excited about?
I'd say the same thing that I did to the students. I mean, how in the hell do you have time to get your work done with all the stuff that's going on? I mean, sounds to me like you're working double time almost to get ready for this actor. Is that right? Yeah.
Brianna's saying triple time.
Triple time? Okay. Well, I saw some heads nodding back there, but
it is
what a tremendous job. And
I agree
great.
with you. It is. We've already got our driver's license.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like an online renewal.
It's an eye test.
Yeah. We don't have to take the driver's test anymore.
Well, for us.
Yeah.
So if I see you blinking in front of them, I'll know you're doing the eye test.
One thing to remember, the folks visiting us are coming from institutions just like ours,
Yes.
going through the same things we're going through, having the same challenges we're having, and so there is understanding of where you are in context. So just remember that. They're not perfect. Their institutions aren't perfect, and they all have improvement to do as well. So.
And I would assume that any comments in the way of improvement is meant to indeed improve. It's not
Absolutely.
meant to punish or anything, but
Absolutely.
it's to help.
Absolutely. So should we have something like that happen? That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So.
So.
All right, let's talk
Okay,
about
let's do
fall
something
enrollment. Knew it was your favorite time.
That's too heavy. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is we're up 4% for fall enrollment. Yay! And Loveland is up 4.4%, which from a year ago we were talking about a decline.
Right, yeah.
So we're very proud of the Loveland campus here for working their tails off to get enrollment up. So we also have off-campus concurrent enrollment up by 36%. I'm going to say that again, 36%. This is huge, huge growth at the college, and something to be mindful of. So we have a growing unit supporting those folks as well, because that is either the high school teachers are teaching those credits, our instructors we're sending to high schools teaching those as well. And so it's a combination of how we're serving those students.
Does that include online?
Online is up almost 9%, and that is separate. That would be a separate
Every
category.
separate?
We separate online out. So.
What's the red piece
Yeah.
of pie? Is online.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah,
looking
no, I,
up high there. We have just under 5,900 students. We have about the same makeup from gender that we've had in the past. Some items of note in the way that are changing enrollment, or the enrollment is changing, if you will, is our full-time students are up. That is a good thing. That means that we're moving towards more of a completion agenda where we increase the number of credits our students are taking. And so we're excited about those numbers going up. Another notable number there at the bottom is that we're converting our concurrent enrollment students to Ames students. This is nationally not the case. And so Ames is a bit of an outlier in a good way in this. And so having students who were previously taking college courses while they were in high school now coming to Ames as full Ames students is something that is increasing, and we're very excited about. And our transfer student populations are also increasing, which is good. One thing to note about transfer populations is they don't always complete at the community college. I'm a perfect example of that. I went to a community college and left at 27 credits, so I do not count for the community college, and yet have degrees, and I did complete. And so we need to think about that and remember that in our transfer numbers. Are there any questions about the enrollment report?
I would just say that it's, point out that it's unusual when the economy is good, and especially when unemployment in Weld County is practically non-existent, to have our enrollment, especially of full-time, go up. That is not what you expect. You expect the reverse.
Nationally, that's
So,
not what is happening, certainly in
we're doing
Denver
well.
either.
Are we?
We're
I know. I'm a strong supporter.
No.
But I'm looking at two bubble pages, which I love.
So it's different data.
We've got 7,966 students for year 2016 to 2017, and here we have 5,874 students in fall of 2017. What's the difference in those two?
Well, it's two different
Other than
populations. So one is a semesterly count. It's the fall only, so it's the students enrolled right now. So the one pager at the very end, not the one with the core measures, but the one pager is fall enrollment only. So it's the fall enrollment report.
So
The core measures are an annualized number.
So how do you annualize? What do you?
You take,
Are you adding? You add each semester.
So we have fall, spring, and summer in this, but we have students who return, so they don't get counted twice. They're counted once.
Oh,
So
little
They're only
confusing.
counted
it
once
is a little,
and-
that, yeah, you want to keep those separate. And we've talked about sometimes when you try to mix those numbers, it really is different data sets that we're looking at.
Okay.
But this fall report, and then when I do the spring report and the summer report, will feed into next year's core measures report
Thank you.
and take out any duplication.
Nice.
You talked earlier about the enrollment in ag in Fort Lupton and how well it was doing, yet Fort Lupton is down by almost 2%. Any
Well, I do
reason for that?
want to point out 2% is about 8 students.
That's what?
2% represents about 8 students.
8 students.
So it's a little bit of
Eight.
noise, if
Oh,
you will.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a small number.
Well,
Going back,
even then, though, is there any particular reason that you could?
Not that we're aware of at this point, not that we've uncovered, no.
Sorry, Mark.
no, that's,
Didn't
I'm
mean-
sorry, I was just going back to Larry's questions, this is for clarification. Summer semester would add to the 5,874.
That is
Get
correct.
it closer to the 8,000. And what wasn't enrolled in, or what wasn't enrolled in fall or summer, but in spring, that gets added.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So you just keep adding.
Unless they're
adding new
duplicated.
students.
If it's, like, if I take fall and spring, I only get counted once, not twice.
So when UNC says they have, what do they have, 10,000? They do the same thing in that count?
Yes.
Unduplicated.
I see.
Yes.
Except
So when,
there's-
so when we
there's-
go out
there's
to the
false
community, or
news.
when I go out to the community and I talk about Ames, I say that,
8.
we have close
Yep.
to 8,000 unduplicated head count throughout our entire service area that we serve annually. And then I say, and for our fall enrollment, we're up 5%, woohoo! So I kind of separate those out a little bit because that, both of those numbers will change, but they are a different intention, I guess.
I bet if they took 5% of 8, that would be 400 students, and it's not.
And that's not
Good, good use.
Yeah. Are there any other questions on the enrollment report or for academic affairs?
You sure you want to ask that?
Just don't
Every time
respond.
you ask.
Thank you
it,
very much, Desi. Thank you. I did, can I do one other shout out that I just forgot to mention is our grants department, thanks to Chuck and his team, got a very clean audit in our grants. So we're very excited, but that was all due to Chuck's team. So,
Thank you.
Good.
Yay, love clean audits.
Take a bow, Chuck.
Which is a very nice segue. Would Mr. Chuck Jensen, Vice President for Administrative Services, come up to give our Administrative Services update?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the board. You have before you the budget report as of August 30th, 2017. Not a lot to report other than it continues to be very stable. At this point, we continue to analyze our tuition revenue, and at this point, continue to believe that our tuition revenue will come in at or above our budget for the year.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to be spending more and more time on, is more predictive value as we talk about revenues and expenses. So for the purpose of today's meeting, I'm going to focus mostly on revenue. And so at this point, we're feeling very confident that the budget that we have established for revenue, we will meet or exceed slightly. So that's always a good way to start the fiscal year. It's always a good way to start fall semester. As Dr. Kish reported, enrollment is up. So of course that means tuition revenue is up. And so we continue to monitor that. As we go forward with expenditures, I don't have much to report at this point of the fiscal year, but as we progress throughout the year, we will be bringing highlights or concerns that we have as we predict out where we feel our expenses are going to end up at the end of the fiscal year. And so we'll focus a lot of energy on personal services because there's always variability in our personal services as people leave and we hire, and the timing to do that. So as we progress through the fiscal year, you'll hear more and more of that commentary coming from me as we chart out where we think we're going to be by the end of the fiscal year. So at this point, the budget report is stable. I don't have any concerns to report on any expenditures that I am concerned about or our team is concerned about. So that is the short of the budget report. Any questions on that?
Questions or anyone? Okay.
Nope.
Thank you, Chuck.
Looks good. Quick highlights from the division. We are beginning the budget process. You'll see at your November work session, we'll be bringing budget assumptions to you. The same format that we followed last year that I think worked really well, and as far as I understand, the board was very satisfied with that process. So that'll begin in November. Currently, right now, we are also beginning the process of evaluating our personal services needs for next fiscal year. Dee and her team in HR are gathering the information from all the divisions about what our needs are for next year, or projected needs are for each of our areas on campus, and we'll begin a process of evaluating that and bringing that forth. Also, in conjunction with HR, we are beginning a salary review to see where Ames stacks up regionally, nationally, in our compensation levels. Along with that, too, we will also be looking to study some of our staffing levels. Again, kind of the benchmarks that we've been talking about in other areas, we will be studying that in benchmarks related to our operational efficiencies on campus. So, a couple exciting things to stay tuned for. In business services, we just completed our accreditation. Our auditors have completed their work 2 days early, which is always a good sign. A shout out to the team in business services and financial services. I think the audit went very well, and I have no items to report. The auditor will present to the board in November, just the official outcome of the audit, and at this point we're not aware of any issues, and we will have an unqualified opinion on our financial statement. So again, our accreditation is done for the year. And they're not just here for 2.5 days, we're here for 4 weeks. So feel sorry for us a little bit. No, we have wonderful auditors. They've done a wonderful job, and it's been a good relationship. Again, the budget process is beginning. We'll be bringing that to you in November. A couple other quick highlights. In our facilities operations, we are still on schedule to move into and occupy the new spaces for facilities and purchasing and receiving. And it's kind of an exciting time for Mike and his staff because they're the ones actually moving. They're not moving everybody else on campus. So that's a kind of a new thing for them. And Mike has talked about he's got, how many, 15 boxes in your office, or 12, or 31 boxes in his office. So, of course, very excited about what that means for those operations. That's a phenomenal space over there. So again, very excited about that. Dr. Kish did mention faculty consultation. We have begun. We had our first meeting last week and have scheduled out the semester to continue our work with our wonderful faculty. And again, I think I'm just very excited about that process. The relationship that we have with the faculty, the ability to sit down at a table and talk through issues like that. Again, myself, coming from a kind of an outside perspective at this point still in a degree, I find that very exciting. I think the faculty that are on that council or on that committee are well vested in the college, and I'm just excited about that. So it should be a good opportunity to move things forward. That concludes my report. Any comments or questions from the board at this time?
No, not I.
We'll have
Larry's
lots.
not. Oh, he is here. Yeah.
Oh, I already read it. I knew it was the time I could leave.
We'll have lots to talk about in November.
Chuck, have you talked with, I know we're kind of in the downturn still of our tax-based revenues. Is there any weather vane supporting some growth there over the next 2 to 3 years, or you're waiting to see on that?
The conversations that we've had thus far with the county assessor is he's looking for some very modest growth over the next 18 months. And so that's the projection they're looking at. Again, very stable, very modest increases. I mean, of course, with half the value in Weld County focused on one industry, gas and oil, there is a certain volatility to that. But we also are aware, within the county that other sectors are growing. Commercial development, residential development, that helps to offset some of that decline. But the way I look at it, we have, at any given time, we'll have at least an 18-month preview of what to expect in any type of a downturn in mill levy values. It's not something that happens overnight, but it does happen in the course of 18 months when they reassess and valuations come out with the oil prices and things like that. So from my standpoint, we will always have a lead time to make decisions on how to react to that. So that's a good thing. And with our net position on our balance sheet, we do have the ability to buffer some economic times with the net position that we do enjoy on the campus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Oil's $50 a barrel.
Yeah, right. Well, it's $50.
Dr. Anderson, Vice President for Community and College Relations, would like to come forward and give us an update of CCR.
Good afternoon, board members. I just have 3 quick categories to share with you. The first one is, as you know, we implemented a call center in the fall, and we did a call campaign that it will be part of your report next month. But 13 faculty and 3 volunteers called every new student to Ames this fall after they had been here for a month, and just checked in. I call them well baby checks. We just wanted to make sure they were doing okay. But the part of that, did I tell you it was 1,339 calls that were made by this set of 16 people, and 904 students made unsolicited positive comments about their experience at Ames. And so these are our new students. So I thought that was pretty remarkable. And yes. And on the other side of that, which is even more remarkable actually, is of those 1,300 plus calls, we only had 11 students that voiced a concern about something at the college that was happening. So that's remarkable. We were very fortunate that student affairs had people on call. So if a student said, I'm going to have to drop out because I don't have transportation, we could immediately transfer them to a student affairs professional that could help them work through that issue. And they had people designated by financial aid, advising, drop an ad, all of those different services. So no one had to wait until the next morning for help. I wanted to make you aware of, we're winding down to the end of the 50th anniversary celebration. It's been a great year, thanks to Emily and Laura. On October 6th, Friday night, we're going to have Aardvarks in the Dark, a free concert. The food trucks, Larry, will be arriving at 5:30. And Emma.
And the beer will be across the street?
Beer will be
There'll be a
across the
wagon?
street and around the block.
Okay, gotcha.
And so will other enjoyable things that are legal in Colorado.
Whoa,
And then
Hey.
they won't be on campus. We have security ready to roll.
Oh.
Emma Marie, who is a 13-year-old from Loveland, will be phenomenal. At 6 p.m. will be the kickoff act, and then Sean Curtis and the Divide will be on stage from 7 to 9. So we hope you can join us. On October 25th, this is an exciting activity from 11 to 1 at the new Applied Technology Center. We are going to do Artie Underground, The Legacy Continues with, I guess we're not burying it. What would you call that, Michael? Sealing the new time capsule. And thank you for your contributions on ideas to put in that. It will be fun for people in 50 years to open that and see what we were like at this point in time. On October 31st, I hope you'll join us for Cooked and Carved. We are asking employees to bring a carved pumpkin and a crock pot full of chili for a celebration of Halloween in Cornerstone over the noon hour. And then we will be transitioning to our November 4th community celebration of the college. And I am so excited, and I just want to really say this was the first time we've done something like this in many, many years at Ames. And Kelly Jackson and her crew in the foundation and the foundation board have really been working to make this a successful event. We have over $30,000 raised in table sponsorships and seat sales, which is phenomenal. We have 22 gift baskets for the silent auction that have been donated, and then an additional 35 items that will be part of the silent or the live auction, and that will include the 50th anniversary quilt will be on the live auction. And for those of you that have connections in the community with business and industry, we only have 9 tables remaining to sell out for this event, and it would really be fun if the first event was a sellout. So come, we will have a signature drink, Larry. A little
How do we
aardvark.
do that? Is the 4th floor exempt over there? Or? 4th floor. Or 3rd floor? Yeah. Is it exempt? You can have alcohol on concrete?
She said signature drink. She didn't say what was in it.
Oh, there isn't any alcohol?
We will communicate after the meeting, Larry.
Okay.
And
It's a BYOB?
with that, when does your term end?
Not soon enough.
Oh, what a zinger.
She just said what everybody was thinking.
You can tell she loves you. You
And
can tell
yes,
she loves you.
and I honestly do appreciate very much what you've given to the college. So with that, that's my report, unless you have additional things to add.
Could I ask, Dr. Anderson, you said that 11 students had something negative to say, or?
Oh, no, just a
whatever.
concern, like
Well,
they
a
didn't have their
concern,
financial aid, they couldn't find a textbook.
Yeah,
They got a
okay.
parking ticket.
Yeah.
Is there any of those 1,300 calls, did they all come back? I mean, did you lose any of them?
Well, okay, these were brand new students who are currently enrolled this fall. So we did lose students through drop for non-payment or students that withdrew from the beginning of the semester to census date. And we are partnering again with Student Affairs, and we're going to be reaching out to those students that withdrew to try to determine what was the reason they withdrew. And then Dr. Gonzalez, who is doing the males program, is really going to be taking a deeper dive with the students of color and reaching out to them and determining what we can do to capture them again in the spring. So we don't have that data yet.
But the 1,300 went to those that had passed all of the benchmarks that are.
They had been enrolled for a month.
Yeah, so they didn't, they weren't dropouts.
No.
By any means.
That's
They
right.
weren't.
No, they're currently enrolled at Ames for the
Those
first
who
time
dropped out had
this
already
fall.
done it. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
And how many was there in total? Was it just 1,300? Excuse me.
Yeah, new students were 1,339 that we called, and we have
You called
80.
1,100 of them.
No, we called all
You got all?
1,339, and and then we have, and I don't even know why I'm going to say this because it's going to be confusing, but we have some late start classes, so we have 83 additional students we have to call back because they said, yeah, things are going great, we haven't started class yet. So we'll be calling those next week. Okay? And stay tuned, the RD Mobile is almost here.
Thank you, Jerry. We would now like to hear from Dr. Weisgeber, Interim Vice President for Student Affairs, to give us an update on the Student Affairs Division.
Good afternoon. Very happy October to you. I have, over the last couple months, been sharing with you a little bit about the student experience so that you have an idea of how students are engaging with campus as we hit each kind of milestone, and I'm using these board meetings as that milestone. And so what I would share with you and begin the report with today is October is a month of working to get students connected. Students have made it through orientation. They're feeling a little bit more comfortable. They have their books. They have their financial aid. They know which classrooms their classes are in, and they're starting to make friends. And so what we really focus on in Student Affairs in October is really trying to heighten that experience for students and really get them involved in a very intentional way. So what you probably noticed in your packet was the score calendar that was about 8 pages long. We have 70 discrete events that we're offering during the month of October. And those events range from financial aid and the partnership between financial aid and Student Life, offering Smart Sense workshops, to our TRIO programs doing cultural immersion. There are career and transfer services offering events for career programs. And so those events really do span the gamut for students, but are designed to get them connected and feeling a sense of community. The other thing that this does, it provides students an opportunity to feel like they're contributing to what our Ames community is, which is a really important part. We have almost 8,000 students in an academic year. They're the largest sector of our community, and so their contribution is absolutely important to what we do. So that's just kind of a fun, give you a feel for where students are at. I do have some operational highlights that I'd like to share with you. The first is really exciting, and so I'll ask you to kind of rewind your memory back to our August work session when Dr. Nancy Gray shared with us. She talked a little bit about our student loan default rate. And we just learned that for the 2014 cohort rate, our default rate is down to 18.9%. It's a 1.3 decrease from 2013, which the rate for 2013 was 20.2. For those of you who are familiar with this, we know that this is a very difficult needle to move. It's not something that we necessarily feel like we have a lot of control over, but we can impact it. And so some of the things that we're doing is changing the way we offer loans to students. We're doing additional financial education for students to help move that number down. For context, we're about middle of the pack nationally in terms of student loan default rate, and we'll expect to see this number move a little bit more because next year is when we'll start to really see an impact from some of the other operational changes that we've made, and so we'll expect to see that down a little bit further next year. Fingers crossed.
I'd call that call center if they can do 1,339 calls in a month.
Right.
I could give them the narrative, and they just call and tell these people.
Well, the exciting thing I think that you're hearing from all of the cabinet is the increased partnership and really leveraging the relationships we have and the resources we have in different divisions to really help make an impact on students. The next thing I would share with you that I am personally very excited about because I was very involved in is we have a new academic advisor training. So in academic advising, the training process to hire and have a fully trained academic advisor takes about a year. That training is super time intensive because we require the advisors to understand the breadth of the curriculum, but also the nuances and the depth of the curriculum. In addition to that, we also expect them to know all of the services, both within the community that we have here at Ames, but also the community that we have in the larger Weld County community. And so that training, as you can imagine, is pretty intensive and takes a long time. We've been working over the last year to create an online training to help add efficiency and consistency to that training to ensure that students are getting the same information regardless of which advisor they speak to. And so I'm very happy to announce that the very first of 5 online training modules has been launched to the college community. So all of our academic advisors will go through that training process, but also faculty who are interested in advising will be able to complete that training as well. So it's a pretty nice feather in the cap. There's not very many schools who are doing this nationwide, and so it's nice to be on the front of that. Lastly, I would share with you a little bit of information about the Dean of Students office. They've been very busy this term. I don't know if you think back to your own experiences with the Dean of Students, what those might look like. Fortunately, our Dean of Students is really starting to push the boundaries of what a Dean of Students office is. Instead of it just being a conduct office, we're really starting to re-envision that as more of a support area as well that can provide some really in-depth support for students. Last spring, the Vice President for Student Affairs talked to you a little bit about a new program we have called the CARE program, and that stands for Coordinated Assistance and Resource Education. So the CARE program is designed to provide the college employees, staff, and faculty an opportunity to report a concern when they see a student who's struggling. So far, we've had 14 different CARE reports submitted, and the Dean of Students office and her staff has worked individually with each one of those students, ranging anywhere from 1 hour, maybe a quick fix and getting them connected to another resource, to up to 5 hours of working in depth with students, trying to get them connected to the resources that they need. So we're really excited to see that program really starting to grow and change the idea of what a Dean of Students office is. In addition to that, we also have the Student Emergency Fund that you'll remember late last spring we sunset the student accident policy, and those funds were diverted to our Student Emergency Fund. We so far have had 25 students request funds from the Student Emergency Fund. So these are things like Dr. Anderson was talking about in terms of, I don't have transportation, my engine blew up, I wasn't expecting that, I had a flood, issues of flooding in my house. These are opportunities that we have to give students to be able to support students financially in a one-time kind of cash infusion to help them make it through that hump so that they continue to stay enrolled in school. So I got to report on a lot of really fun, exciting things. Do you have any questions?
So just for the heck of it, 25 requests, how much money was that?
So 25 requests, the total requested funds were just under $17,000.
117,000?
No,
17,000.
17,000. So
What I will say is, again, back to this partnership piece, is that we were able to work very closely with financial aid. So if students had additional scholarship money or additional funds that we could pull through financial aid, we were able to do that for them. And so not all 25 of those students received money from the Student Emergency Fund because we're really trying to help them understand the process and navigate where their resources are so that next time, if they have an emergency, they go, let me check with the financial aid office.
super.
Your online
Super.
training, is that, the courses they take, is that something that they work on their own time while they're employed for us? And they have measures to kind of reach or log on so much? Is it kind of that type of a basis?
Yeah, we actually worked with our learning environments over in academic affairs to create it as an online course. So it'll basically be 5 online courses, and throughout each course content subsection, there's quizzes. So we have a trainer instructor who can determine what the competency level is for these critical areas. So we can say, on the whole, you know, hopefully this is what I'd like to say, you know, our advisors have a 90% competency in Module 1, right, which will be able to tell us that we have a very highly trained, highly competent staff. So they'll approach it in the same way that our students approach their online coursework.
So this will speed up that year-long process probably quite a bit, just having that resource.
Right, because it will allow the person to work individually on training and allow the other advisors who would be doing the training to continue serving students. There's still some one-on-one shadowing where I would have an advisor, you know, a trainee come sit with me while I work with students so they can get the feel for what that's like, and then vice versa, where the trainer would sit with the new advisor to make sure that the advisor is handling advising appropriately.
How is your staff? Have you increased the staff?
We are working toward a model of case management, and so we're working very closely through strategic planning to understand what is the appropriate ratio for student to advisor, so that we have an understanding of what we need in terms of staffing. And so I think we'll be kind of working toward that as we move forward.
Okay. Still to be determined.
To be determined. Let's talk more in the spring.
Okay. All right.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So just a few comments from myself. You have the meetings of note in your packet from this last month. One of the meetings I'd like to just highlight is a little bit more than halfway down that bullet point section. And it's with regard to our own PTK student leaders. They met with me early on in the semester offering their help. They wanted to adopt a project that would help the college and that would certainly help me, basically, but help us, and asked what that could be. And basically I said, well, you know, we're in the process of our strategic planning as an institution, and it would be really helpful to make sure we have a good student voice. So we've been meeting with the advisors of PTK and Patrick Call, who's the Student Leadership and Development Executive Director. And PTK is taking on this month some student focus groups to talk a little bit about not only the strategies that you already voted on, but a more focused look at the actual objectives that we're proposing within those strategies. And that's happening at the same time that the college as a whole is doing the same thing. So we have those posted on our internal Google forum for communication to give some feedback on those objectives that support those strategy statements. So that's really kind of excited. The students of PTK, the officers, are very excited about that. They feel that it's important work because they understand that their voice in contribution with the voices of all of our employees are really informing and predicting, I guess, if you will, a little bit history of the college for the next 5 years in our strategic plan. So that's exciting to them, and they feel like they can really make a difference that way. So I just wanted to highlight that because that seemed important. Chair Ruckel and Trustee Oxiger will be giving an update on the ACCT conference. There were a couple presentations there that I participated in. And I would like to draw your attention to, let's see, sometimes I include in opportunities for growth and improvement. It's really just something to inform you of things that we're working on because we're a little bit challenged, but we're working through the challenge. So this challenge is that we've been debriefing the extreme weather sort of occurrences that we've been having in our area and what that means and how does that impact our current emergency plans and our emergency procedures and our communications around that. And of course, more recently, when there was an active shooter in the Loveland area and that impact that happened very quickly and everything worked very well in that. We actually debriefed that this morning. But I just want to let you know that there's no area for concern. It's just this is something that we're working on. We're looking a little bit more deeply into about what is really our communication flow, what's the best way to do that, and the process. So I wanted to point that out to you. For October, Dr. Weisgaver is President's Coverage. This is her first time. She's looking forward to it. I'm not gone very much, so it's okay. I did want to give you a little bit of a heads up for November. Dr. Kish is going to be President's Coverage in November. I'm traveling a lot in November. There's the Sequin Executive Board that meets in North Carolina for a week, and then the very next week is the AACC Board meeting in DC, and then the very next week is Thanksgiving. So I don't really know if I want to say this out loud, but for the majority of the month of November, I will not be on campus. Yeah, look at all the smiling faces.
That is rather amazing.
It is rather amazing. So Dr. Kish will be boots on the ground. I will be available certainly by email and phone and text and those things, but I'll be out, seems more than I'm in, so I just wanted to let you know that. Any questions about that part of the President's report? Okay. Moving on to new employees. If there are supervisors here that have new employees that you would like to introduce, would you please, there's no particular order to this, but would you please sort of raise your hand or stand up? Libby?
Thank you.
So apparently we keep stealing from the same part of the world. This is Michael Jones. He is our Director of the Learning Environments, which is that new office I talked to you all about, and he emails to us from Thailand after having been there for a second stint, like 8 years this time, and I think 10 years previously. So we keep stealing folks from the world. But welcome.
Thank you.
One person introduced from Administrative Services, I'd like to introduce Tina Romer. She's the new staff executive in the VP's office. And so, as I like to tell people, if you need something from me, make sure you CC Tina, because it's about 100% sure it'll get done. If you just send an email to me, you're about 62%. So
keep that in mind.
Great addition to our team in Administrative Services.
Anyone else? Okay. In your packets as well, you have the Ripples and Recognition nomination for August. So I just want to read the name. I better get my glasses. Read the names of those who were nominated for August. Julie Lukenga, Connie Lance, Michael Avers, Norma Keeney, and let me see if it goes on to the second page.
It does.
Oh, excellent. Ty Bagel? Is it Ty Bagel? Bagel. Laura Da Vinci, Ross Perkins, Leanne Sappington, and let's see if it goes on to, third page. Stephanie Chadwick, Brianne Brianne. Oh, Oyster, thank you. She trained me on that and I had it, but I lost it. Greg Laffett. Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yesenia.
Oh, you guys have it down too. Yesenia Talavera Carrillo. Yesenia Talavera Carrillo. I apologize, but it's good practice. Carol Sattermoyen and Ellen Willis, Les Weimers, Michael Millsaps and the F&O team, Travis Tomlin.
Natalia.
Thank you. I just had to wait till move to the next page. Natalia Delgado, Mary Gabriel, Tara Cruz, and I think that is it. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations, everyone, for an excellent, excellent job. So good job. And next on the President's Report, and last, is Excellent at Ames. Dr. Gonzalez is here to talk a little bit to us about early outreach.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, I've been waiting to give you a test.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
I'm gone again.
Yeah, we all have to leave the room now.
Dr. B asked me to do this, just so you know. So I'm going to give you a piece of paper, if I may. Approach the bench. And I'm going to ask you to take this lovely radioactive pencil. If you lose a limb or a finger, it's not my fault.
We need one more here.
All right. And so, here's what the test consists of.
And I want a pencil. Thank you.
Here you go. You can have a test.
Thank you.
You can have a pencil. What I want you to do is I want you to write down, this is for the site visitation, okay?
Okay.
I want you to write down, what animal would you be if you could be one?
Oh, geez.
Write it down. Write it down. If you could be an animal, which animal would that be? Okay?
Okay.
I assure you that this will all make sense in a few minutes. So I need a clicker. Do I have a clicker? Does it say right here? All right. You ready for your test?
Ready.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. So, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. So please, climb that tree. So, who won it? How'd you do in the test? What did you pick?
Cougar.
I think you do pretty well. How about you?
Honey badger.
Aardvark.
Aardvark? Ooh.
Aardvark.
Oh my God, 2 aardvarks. You know what? You all
Failed.
won a prize.
Oh, whiz.
Yes. Now, this is the thing though. You're going to have to wear these right now. Okay?
That's easy.
No problem.
No problem? No problem. All right. So what is early outreach? I'm going to share a story with you. My daughter comes up to me last year and she says, y'all look very cool.
Thank
She
you.
says, Daddy, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. She's a 4th grader, of course. And here I am expecting her to say, I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, assistant vice president or vice president of student affairs or whatever. You know what she said? She says, Daddy, I want to be an AIM student. An AIM student. And yay, everybody.
Yay!
And that epitomizes what early outreach is. Early outreach is simply getting to our students earlier. Why? Because this is what happens. If you don't build your dreams, someone else is going to hire you to build theirs. And that's it. That's all you get. Those are your 2 options. You either build your own dreams or somebody else is going to hire you to build theirs, right? So, early outreach allows us to work with our students, okay, at an early age. Now, I like this data set. This is what early outreach does. We can look at these data sets. And these are our 1st graders of today in Weld County, Evans District 6. Okay? This is what they look like today. If you were to go into one of those classrooms, 56% of them are Hispanics. And so I tell you that because the future, ladies and gentlemen, is not tomorrow. The future is today. And you can look at these data sets, and you can look at qualitative data and quantitative data and all the quasi-experimental data you want. But this, ladies and gentlemen, this tells you what your future is going to look like. So you've got a choice. We're going to be proactive or we're going to be reactive. And in early outreach, that's what we are. We are proactive. Okay? And so we are proactive because we want to have these very honest conversations with our students. Okay? But in order to have an honest conversation with someone, you must first reveal yourself. This gets me to our next activity, y'all. I'm going to have you draw a circle. I'm just going to have you draw a circle on that paper that I gave you. Unfortunately, I only have a minute and a half. Otherwise, I'd go through this whole exercise with you, and it'd take us about a day and a half. So what I want to do is I want you to reveal yourself to us. Ooh. Okay? So I want you to write down 2 of your hobbies. 2 of your hobbies on that piece of paper. I'm going to share with you what mine are. I have 2. Watch the Broncos games and eat pizza. Every now and again I'll throw in a marathon or a half marathon. But those really are my hobbies, okay? Okay? This is part of the discussion that we have with our students. We want to get to know who they are. So, any volunteers who wants to share what their 2 hobbies are? Go for it. You're looking right at me. I'm thinking about it.
Falconry and tennis.
Did you hear that?
Yep.
Interesting. How about you?
Golf and grandkids.
Golf and grandkids. Mr. Peterson?
Oh, I do some metalworking, and I like to watch the Broncos.
All right, right on. I'm going to give you a second prize.
I would say grandkids and community volunteering.
Okay, awesome.
Reading and model RC airplanes.
Nice. Dr. B?
Travel and woodworking.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. Like I said, we get to know you a little bit more. So, there's 3 main things in terms of why early outreach. 3 main things, okay? And if we have more time, I'd give you 50, but I don't have that much time. Number 1, we want to connect with students. We want to connect with our students. We do this via tours. We do this via presentations. We do this via meeting with students one-on-one. But we want to connect with our students. Number 2, we want to connect with the parents. Okay? Many students see their parents as role models and heroes. And it's our jobs to meet with them and connect with them and share with them the good news. Share with them all the good information that you all just talked about. What All Ames has to offer. And number 3, we want to connect with the community. We want to connect with the community. We want to connect with the school districts. We want to connect with the businesses. We want to connect with all those partners that want to listen to us, have coffee with us, and work together. That's what we want to do. And all these things fall in line with the purpose of the college. Yes, the purpose of the college. And on 3, we're all going to recite what that is. Yes? Now, I've got a cheat sheet with me. On 3, get it out. 1, 2, 3. Build a stronger community. That's right. Woo-hoo! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what early college is, in a nutshell. And I don't think I have time for any questions. So thank you very much.
Well done.
That's bad.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah.
You just stand right here.
Oh, okay.
This is what I put up with every day. No, I just wanted to let you know Mario's work so far with the Males program, because we had talked to you about this. We have met with the libraries and setting up a program, and they have asked that Mario work and train resource officers to interact with young Spanish-speaking males. And he is working on becoming a college coach with a cohort of 8th graders in the Fort Lupton schools or Plattsville. And he is doing 9th grade presentations already to connect and campus tours. And so I just think you can see his enthusiasm. And that's exactly what he does with 9th grade students, and they get very excited. And Mario has a wonderful story that he can share with them. And I just really want to applaud Mario, I should say Dr. Gonzalez, I'm sorry. You earned it. Dr. Gonzalez and Jody for their work together in partnership in bringing that enthusiasm to Ames. So,
And that concludes the President's report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That takes us to information items. Our first one is report from the ACCT Leadership Conference, which was in Las Vegas last week. And but there were four of us, yes. This four here. Carrie went because they have a thread of classes for board assistants. Dr. B did a presentation that the day before the conference started, and then she and I did a presentation during the conference on really talking about our work with ACCT in doing board retreats, president evaluation, board self-evaluation, which was really fun, and Lyle joined us as well. So Lyle and I are just, I don't know, Dr. B, you can talk too about sessions you went to, about just briefly what our highlights were. You want to start?
Sure. I'll be brief. You know, I went last year for the first time, and that was a real eye-opening experience for me, being the first time and new on the board and everything. I was probably a little less impressed this year. Not that I was disappointed in it, but I saw some repeat things. But I think the most important thing for me was to see the validation in what we're doing here. We're doing so many great things, and to hear about institutions across the country that are struggling with various issues and everything else, and to know firsthand that we already know those challenges. We're meeting those challenges and we're addressing them. So, you know, I think that's great. Certainly the interaction with other people, the networking is a fabulous thing. There were a couple of things that I think was probably more impressed with than others. One of them was a presentation on the effects of drugs on our children in this country. And I brought quite a bit of material back with me, and I'll certainly share that with Dr. B and let her do with that what she will. But it was very, very eye-opening for me. So we see those kinds of things. I went to another session on baccalaureate programs. I don't know where we're going with baccalaureate programs. I have no idea, but I certainly have some good ideas, and I learned quite a few things about the challenges that the institutions that are pursuing baccalaureate degrees are facing. And I've made some notes, and I've got some slides and things like that for potentially future reference. So I think that's just good material to have seen and to experienced, heard about it, and put away for future reference. A lot of the sessions, or several of the sessions that I went to, were on securing student success. How do we improve student success? How do we assure that our students succeed? And we know that's what we're all about. We're constantly addressing programs and different avenues to assure that our students are succeeding. So, I mean, they ranged all the way from financial help to retention and retention through the summer and all of those other things, so that they don't lose students over the summer sessions, et cetera. So those things were all very, very good. I certainly will be interested in going back again. I always get a lot out of these for my own knowledge and for future reference. There's a couple of them I'm going to leave for Carol and or Dr. B to address that I also went to. But all in all, it was a very, very good conference, and thanks for
I would agree with you that it was nice to look at the program and say, oh, I don't need to go to that session, we're already doing that. And that just feels really good. Some that stood out to me, there was a session on remediation for in math for students who are not in STEM programs and basically not doing remediation, so it's something interesting to think about and talk about. A session on helping hungry and homeless students, one called Workforce Dream Teams, and how the Salt Lake City Community College system is responding very quickly, like in 4 months or less, creating classes that are needed for industry in their area. And the last session that actually the three of us started out in anyway, on Title IX best practices. So when we get to that policy and reviewing that policy, we have some really good models or a really good model to take a look at. I also want to thank Carrie. This was her first experience really in creating and getting the board someplace, and she just did an awesome job taking care of us and setting everything up and making sure that our rooms and meals and everything was taken care of. So thank you. Kudos to you. And it was fun having you along too.
Carol.
Bet you didn't realize you're going to have to babysit that much.
And I just want to say one more thing, because they won't tell you this, but Dr. B and Chair Ruckel did an awesome job in their presentation. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of weird having the two of them sitting in the back when we're presenting. It's like, isn't there another session you can go to? Sounds better than this. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning, so. Yes, not a happy time.
So just to add, not to repeat, some additional sessions that I went to focused on food and home and housing and security, and I actually passed that information already on to Dr. Weisgeber, because I know that we're considering some things. Civitas is a company that really has some software products that focus on tracking not only with the advising but also basically student success products. But one of the other outcomes or assets is that they do their own research as well. And so I went to a session where they started to present information on part-time students, and it's data that they've been collecting nationally, and it was a little bit of a teaser. So I brought that back, and we've got some of that information. They'll be actually, now that it's a week later, so I think it's now public, but they were kind of giving us a little bit of a teaser, and then they were going to publicly present it this week. So that was interesting as well. And it was a pleasure to present with Carol. And the session that I had an opportunity to present, it was a workshop. It was basically the Chairs Academy on how to be a successful chair. And I was asked, because I've worked with a couple of boards in my career, and it was to present a perspective from a CEO on working with different boards, what's worked, what hasn't, and so forth. Our Q&A was at the very end of the day, and if you guys have been to workshops before conferences, you know everybody's wiped out by the end of the day. So I wasn't sure how well it would be received, but folks had great questions, and they were still engaged, so it seemed like it was worthwhile for them. So thank you.
Good, great, thank you. There's no correspondence in your packet, so we'll move to board calendar. You have an updated calendar that was given to you today with the specific time, as we've talked about, of our lunch with HLC. Please note also on October 24th, the post-accreditation visit celebration. I think people are going to be happy that it's over. And so there will be celebrations, and the board is certainly invited to come to any one of those. They'll be on all of the campuses. And our next trustees meeting on November 1st will be back at the Greeley campus. Any questions about anything on the calendar?
I just assumed that the only responsibility that we have as a board is the lunch, the meeting on the 17th, there's no...
We'll also be getting you the information for the community reception, so you absolutely are invited to go to that. But you will, as a board, have your own time with the site team and be asked questions. If you choose to come to the community reception, which of course you're welcome to come to, the site team will be focused on really talking to community members. So you might just want to assist them with introductions and then perhaps back away and let them talk. Or if a site member might be standing alone, you certainly can engage them in a conversation. So that's the other opportunity for you to participate, and we'll be getting you that information. That's
not set up yet?
it is actually set up, but it's not on your sheet, so we'll be getting you that under a separate email. But then that's more voluntary if you have the time.
But that's all. There isn't any other...
No, that's it.
...place or time that we should be...
No.
Okay, thank you. We have one action item on our agenda today, and that is approval of the president's contract.
I move we adjourn.
I'm going to rule that motion out of order. Nice try.
According seen the look I got.
According to Ames policy, from whom? From 1-100, college president duties requires the Board of Trustees to perform an annual review and evaluation of the performance of the college president, which we have done. Linked to the evaluation is the extension of the president's contract. So I would ask for a motion to approve the president's contract as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Before we vote, we haven't voted yet. I just want to thank Larry for taking the lead on this process, and of course to Stowe Whitwer, as always, helping us make sure that all of the wordage is correct. So given that, all in favor of approval of the president's contract, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We have done that.
Thank you.
Now you can relax.
Thank you.
I bet you're on the edge of your seat.
Especially with you're just getting it today. You only have 2 more meetings, so
I know. I got to get it in. I've got a whole list of things.
He's got his list. Yes, absolutely. Okay, that takes us to.
We got to set through 2
I know. Comments from board members. Do you want to start?
Sure. Well, great meeting today. I'll reiterate some of the things I said earlier in my comments. I'm always amazed when I come to these meetings to see how this team works and works together. I love how you look for challenges and you take challenges head on, and together you find solutions and you implement them. I'm just incredibly impressed all the time. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the work you do. Thank you certainly for all the work that everybody has done towards this accreditation. It's just amazing to hear about all the people that have worked and all the long hours that you've put in order to make this happen. So thank you very much. I also want to throw in a thank you to the people that have worked so hard. I know there's a lot of people, so I won't single anybody out. But on the 50th anniversary celebration this year, it's been awesome. It's been a great year. I know we've all enjoyed it. So thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you.
I'd just like to second what Lyle has said, because it's very true, and I certainly agree with that. I'll just sum it up by saying I'm looking forward to those folks being here to check on our accreditation, because I can't wait to tell them how damn good we are. And I really mean that. So I look forward to it.
Thank you. Larry?
Did you hear what he said?
I did.
Since I only have 2 more, I'll get as much of it out on this one, and then 2 more I'll get. Now, Laura, he said that I embarrassed you when I made you get up there and talk. I didn't? Oh, dang. I was hoping I did. I was a little bothered by the fact, and it didn't, I have never realized this, but we're having to revive hippie. I never left it. I guess I'll have to throw away my bell bottoms. The Loveland campus coming in today, something that is really great. When you walk in, you see a lot of the same thing. Smiles. Everybody is happy, it's warm, introductions are great, people are very positive. I heard fun and exciting. You said things are fun and exciting. You know, 8 years ago when I got on the board, it wasn't fun and exciting. It was, we were having to cut a lot and do a lot of things that weren't fun. But it's nice to hear you saying that. We see it, it's nice to hear it. I'm looking forward to getting the visit over, because there's a party. I think it's a little presumptuous, but you know, it will be good. I'm used to being. I'm in a regulated industry, and we have the OCC and the feds come in once a year, and I've always been in charge of that. And we've always done a better job when we're prepared and when we are positive. And the group is so positive. I think that's fantastic. The report, Academic Affairs, was excellent, just like I wanted, and now I'm leaving. It's only taken 8 years to get there, but I'm glad you're here because that's why it did. The partnerships, I like that everybody is working together, and that works very well. And then Dr. Gonzalez already left, but I have been on meetings with him at a high school. And he was held back at this one because there he's a little more exciting, and he gets the kids a little more, he gets them going. He does a fantastic job, and I think that's going to be a great program. That's all I'm going to say this time, but watch out for the next two.
Thank you, Mr. Howe.
Energy. You guys, this whole staff, the faculty, comes to every one of our board meetings prepared with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. Smiles are there always. I always noted before, we're a happy crew. We try to keep it pretty comfortable to ourselves, so I don't think there's anything that hasn't been said that's injured any feelings here. Great stats, thank you. You know, those are very readable. We're starting to, you know, might take me a while to ask that question finally, but the answers are there, and that's always nice. Personal touches. I mean, we've talked about touches before. It started a year ago here. But, you know, those phone calls, every time we reach out, those advisement, new training systems that are coming about, those are going to be great events. You're creating tipping points now. And not that you haven't already. I mean, we have a success story. But I see threefold in just a number of years. So that's kind of neat. Dr. Gonzalez, what are you doing Friday? Right, I'm on the leg back committee, and we're revising our educational policies and philosophies for the Chamber of Commerce, and everything you put up on that board is what I typed up for my recommendations. Not that, you know, I think we're on the same wavelength. I can't be there Friday, so if you can, it's at 7:30 at the Chamber.
I'll get a hold.
Get a hold of him. He would show up, he'd knock their socks off. But if it's okay, I would try to invite you. But no, we need support like this, and that's you know, that's what's so important. You know, we have a CARE program, and I said this before. Caring always requires effort, and there's so much effort in this organization, in this college. So, again, thank you.
Thank you all. Our final thing, as always, is our assessment of our board meeting. I think we've heard a lot of it right now. What worked? Anything that didn't work? Any comments?
Well, I think we're getting better all the time, and we've only got 2 meetings to go where we really,
before that
really get better.
Really be better.
What are you excited about? I didn't know anything about it.
I'm not excited. I'm not looking forward to leaving, but I know that the guy coming in is very bright, and everybody will like it.
Second, did we focus on oversight, strategy, and challenges?
Always.
I think we always do, certainly in our work session, working on policies. Did we receive the information we needed to have an effective conversation?
Very much.
And again, we
In
do.
spades.
Yes. Thank you all
Yep.
very much.
Yep.
With nothing else to come before us, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Pick one, Carrie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.